Hey guys, it's Blake here. Hey, I just want to take a few minutes to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I apologize I'm not on the meeting today, but I'm going to be spending some time with my brother and his family for Christmas, and we celebrate on Saturday before Christmas, so I'm not going to be able to make it into the meeting. So Dave Levy and Dave Stetson's going to handle it today. But I did want to tell you a little bit about a knife that we're going to be auctioning off in the meeting today. We're having my friend Jim Hiser on from Pennsylvania. He's been gracious enough to autograph one of his Helvey Signature Series knives for us. So we'll be auctioning off this knife right here. The blade's about 2 inches long. There's where Jim signed it. It's got the burning on the other side that Rich Smithson did. Again, it's numbered on the end, and it's a Helvey. It's brand new. It's never been used. And we're going to auction this today to benefit International Association of Woodcarvers meetings so that we can continue to have meetings in 2025. So if you're interested in this, make sure you place your bid in the chat. At the end of the meeting, Dave will gather your information, send it over to me, and I'll send the knife out to you at the beginning of the week next week. Again, as always, we appreciate you all coming in and supporting us. Without these auctions, we wouldn't be able to have these meetings because we pay for our Zoom subscription with the funds. So I just want to say thank you for that. Dave Stetson, Dave Levy, thank you all for taking care of the meeting today. Jim Hiser, thank you for coming in and doing a great presentation. This is one of those good times when I actually get to come in after the fact and watch it just like everybody else does. So looking forward to seeing your presentation. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas. I'll see you all next Saturday with Ryan Olson. So Dave will tell you more about that here in a few minutes. Thank you all. Merry Christmas. We'll see you all next weekend.
Welcome to International Association of Woodcarvers. I'm glad that everybody's here today joining us on this nice, lovely, sometimes cold in some places, warm in others. But glad you could be here this close to Christmas, our last show before Christmas even. So I'm glad you're here and glad you can be with us today. Got a great presenter with us. We have Mr. Jim Hiser, who's going to be giving a presentation and demo for us. So we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Before we get started in with that, let me give you a couple announcements. As always, we've got our teachings that's going on through the Woodcarving Academy, if I can get the right wording out. So if you guys go on to Woodcarving Academy and look at the workshops, you'll see our upcoming workshops that are going on. In January, there's going to be Janet Cordell is going to be teaching a raccoon with a leaf. Also, Ryan Olson, who's going to be here next week presenting for us. He's going to be doing a woodcarving handsome hunks and hotties. He'll be doing that in January. Then we get into February, and Dale Green is going to be doing a shorties class. Coming up in March, our very own Dave Stetson, who's with us today, is going to be doing a cowboy with a bottle, and he'll be teaching that in March. And of course, Dwayne Gosnell always has his Twiddling Tuesdays going on as well. And if you have want to get any information on any of that, that's all on his website, and you can learn more about that. As with all of it, with any of the instructors who are teaching those classes, if you reach out to them, they will tell you how you can get involved in that class if you're interested and want to be a part of it. I want to thank the Woodcarving Academy too for hosting all of these classes and everything that they do, all that Huron does with Woodcarving Academy. If you guys want to, a great Christmas present for yourself, a stocking stuffer, go ahead and go sign up on the Woodcarving Academy for 1 month or a year, and let that be a Christmas gift to yourself, or have somebody give that to you, because it's a good thing to be a part of. Upcoming presenters. Of course, today we've got Jim Hiser. And then next week, to finish out our year, we're going to have Ryan Olson. He's going to be presenting for us and probably talking a little bit about his class he's got coming up in January. So would love for you guys to be here next week for that. Blake and I have started filling up our January through May with presenters and demonstrations we can get done. If you know of anybody who you would like to see present, or you yourself would like to present, reach out to Blake or myself, and we'll work on getting you on the schedule of everything that's going on and coming up here this next springtime, I guess it would be, into winter, spring. Having said all that, though, I'm going to turn it over to our very own Dave Stetson as soon as I can find him on here and switch it to him, and we'll get our words of wisdom from our very wise guy. So give me just a second here. Pull over and find Mr. Stetson. There he is. Dave, I am going to turn it over to you, brother.
Thank you, Dave. Oh, my words today come from Lao Tzu. I think I'm pronouncing Laotzu. He was a semi-legendary ancient Chinese philosopher from the 6th century BC. Um, I think it's cool that I kind of equate to this guy because he seems to be a little on the sarcastic side. Anyway, he says, if you do not change direction, you might end up where you're heading. You think about that. That came from the 6th century BC. So take a good look at the direction you're heading, because that might be where you end up.
Thanks, Dave. Greatly appreciate it, man. With that being said, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenter, Jim. And Mr. Hiser is going to be doing a little presentation and talk with us today. So, Jim, I'm going to give it over to you, brother.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the opportunity coming back on again. Since it's Christmas time, I thought we'd just talk about Christmas ornaments. People carve a lot of them. We always, trying to come up with new ideas. And I like to think back of, my childhood as some of the ornaments I used to see on the trees and stuff. And like, what can I do with those shapes? So I've got an ornament this year it's the first year I've done these, and it's been kind of fun. I think maybe we'll switch the cameras here, and I can show you a little bit what we got going. There we go. Here's just one, and it kind of reminds you of the glass balls that you used to see, was very popular, when I was a kid. Here's another one we did. And then took that same blank and, did something totally different with it. And I have to give credit for the nice little snowflakes and stuff. My wife did all that, so I won't take credit for that. But what I did, I come up with a pattern. And so what I do, I cut 3 out at a time. And that'll fit on a 2-inch block, which I have right here. So I cut it out and then kind of pull all the parts apart and then end up with my blank. So depending on how comfortable you are, I carve all different size stuff, so I could cut these and carve them one at a time. But if you want something a little extra to hold on to, it gives you something to hand hold on. But you can do anything you want with it, but you've already got your point, like for your nose, so you don't have to go and put that in. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and I'll start on one here. So I'm going
and guys, so you know, Jim will take questions throughout the time. So if you just put them in the chat, I'll read them out to them.
Yeah, so what I like to do is just pick a spot that I think I'm going to want the top of my nose, and I'll just make a cut. And then what I'll do, I'll just start scooping out from there. Just start a little bit on the brow line. And with these guys, I've been popping the noses out a little bit longer than I normally do. Then I'll come up under the bottom of the nose. Sometimes I actually lose the nose, so we can just either fix that or roll it over to another side. It happens. As I'm going along, as Dave said, I like questions, so if there's anything that I'm confusing you with or you want to see different or you got a question on, feel free to put in the chat there and Dave will pass it on to me. All right, so now you can kind of see the profile coming out. Then I'll pick a spot like this one. I'm going to put a hat on with a little bit of a ball off the end. So I'll just pick one of the sides and just start blocking that in.
Jim just had a question in here. Is there any specific choice for grain direction?
I have the grain running up and down when it was just a 2x2 block that I had, so I have the grain running up and down. So if you're looking at the grain's kind of going this direction.
And someone else also said those are some clean cut lines from your bandsaw. What brand of bandsaw did you use?
Well, I actually have two bandsaws, and I get no royalties for either one of them, so I'm going to talk about both of them. But my main bandsaw is a 14-inch Rikon. It's probably been the smoothest running bandsaw I've ever owned. And then I also am fortunate enough to have a Pegasus. This was cut on the Pegasus, so you can definitely see what that small blade will do. And that's what I cut this out on. But I could have very easily cut it out on the Rikon, but it wouldn't have been quite as smooth with that blade. I really like my Pegasus. I know a lot of people will talk about them, you know, with the cost and stuff. But it's not a tool you have to have. But boy, does it fun to work with. My wife wasn't home, or I would have shot a video, but I did take some pictures. I had a 5.5 by 6 inch chunk of wood that I cut project out with that was on that with that small blade on the Pegasus, which was amazing. And I was kind of doing it just to see what I could really do with it. Now I'm getting sidetracked, but I'm just kind of sketching the hat across here, and you can do anything you want with those. These are just rough lines. They're all going to get moved anyway. And here's where we messed up earlier. Not we, me. But see how easy we can just blend that all in there. I like to bring a line up just to...
Give me a little out of frame.
Oh, I'm sorry. I get caught up in what I'm doing and forget. But I do use a pencil a lot. I know a lot of people don't like to use them, but I usually scrub my carvings when I'm done. It's just kind of how I started, and I still do. And what I'm showing you today is just one way of doing things. It's not the right way, the wrong way, or it's just a way. So feel free to put your twist on what you see me doing here.
Now, that knife you had in your hand a second ago, is that the knife that you need to have for carving?
Well, this is what we are auctioning off today. And contrary to what Chris Hammock says, I think it's the knife you need to have. It's designed by me, has a slight flex to the blade. It doesn't, you know, it's not real flexible, but it works for me, and it's nice if you're doing something with a hat, you can kind of roll right up through it. It's something Rich and I worked on together, Rich Smith, and that is, and he's done a real good job for me, and very, very pleased with it. It's probably my favorite knife. I had several that he had done, but this, the Series 1, which is the flexible blade, is my favorite.
How did you get started carving?
How did I get started carving? I used to build furniture, and I got to thinking, there was a local show in our area, and I got to thinking if I went to that show, I could learn how to embellish the furniture I was working on. So I went to this show, and they had a competition, and when I walked in the room, I just fell in love with the in-around carving. And from there, I started asking if anybody taught, and they introduced me to two people there. There's a gentleman, he was actually the president of the club, and he taught, and then they introduced me to a lady by the name of Linda Murphy. And I just really loved her work, and she was teaching at the art center not too far from my home. So I signed up and I started taking classes with her, and then through her and some friends, I found out about a club in East Berlin that had seminars. So I apologize to keep going off screen there. But through that, been very fortunate where I've got to carve with a lot of different instructors. I highly recommend classes and carve with as many different people as you can. Everybody brings something to the table. All right, so now I'm just kind of playing around, knocking edges off and stuff where we're at there. So now we're going to get back to the face here. I kind of started with the nose here. So what I like to do, and once again, what I'm showing you is what works for me. If you have another way of doing it, by all means, but I take a U gouge, where you can see it, just a U. This one happens to be a number 9. Don't get too hung up on the numbers there. You think a guy doing the demo would have maybe sharpened his tools up before, but
Jim, when you scrub up your carvings, what do you use to scrub those up?
a little dishwashing detergent, and I will kind of run the carving under the faucet, and then I'll take a stiff bristle brush, and I take a little bit of dishwashing detergent and put it in a little bowl, and then I'll take the brush in there and whip it up, get a little bit of suds coming with it, and then just scrub the carving up real good, especially on the face, because I do use a pencil, and if I don't get all the pencil mark off the eyes, it looks like it has mascara on it. So but just to oil your hand and my dirty glove and stuff, it's a good idea just to clean them up. And put the center line back in here that we cut off earlier. And then to the left and right of the center line, hang on here a minute, go a little deeper here.
And while you're going a little deeper, you've been challenged to a knife duel by Chris Hammock.
Okay, well, I'm already going to concede because I know I can't out knife duel Chris, but I just had to put that little dig in there on his knife. But they're both made by Helvey, so they're good knives. All right, so I got my brow line going across the top here. So I put my center line back in, and then I like to put a dot to the left and right of the center line. I don't know if you can see that. And what that does for me is, it's a reminder to me that I don't want to take the bridge of the nose out. So, and this is the part here that'll drive Dave Stetson crazy, because I carve sockets for my eyes. Now, once again,
a little out of frame.
Out of frame again. Sorry about that. Like I say, this is just a way of doing things, and it works for me. And I sketch a little triangle alongside the nose. Then I'll take that same gouge and run right up into those eye sockets. You can see it's freezing up on us once in a while there. I apologize for that. So I'm going to remove some wood off the cheek. Anytime you put a gouge to it, you're going to get a sharp line, so we have to get that sharp line off. Get a little deeper on the bottom of the nose here. Shake my nose up a little bit more. Okay, let's see here. Bear with me just a second. That's a lot better. Yeah, more better. All right, so now I want to put the nostrils or the wings of my nose. I don't know if any of you have ever had a problem where you get one wing real high and one real low. I do that, and my issue is a focus problem. So over the years, I've learned to put a line across your nose. I'm trying to find out how to see that. And what that does is give me a fighting chance that each one's going to be the same height. So I take my knife and I just walk right around the nose. Then I come back up and I'm going to take a little cutout. And that's going to be the beginning of your smile line, a frown line, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not committing to any expression yet.
And Chris is adjusting his dual. He meant to say a duet. So
Oh, a duet.
yeah.
Okay, that I'll do.
So he'll do a duet with you, and then someone else is wondering what your preferred blade length is.
You want to know my preferred blade length?
Yeah, and if you have a smaller for detailing.
No, I use a 2-inch blade, and I won't say I've never used a detail knife, but I pretty much do everything with this same blade you see me working with right now. The more you get used to using your knife, it just is easy. I mean, when I first started, I used detail knives for eyes and everything, and but then along the way, I got to using this 2-inch blade, and actually started with with a Ron Wells knife, and I really like I guess that's how I got used to the flex knife. And then when Ron Wells got ill and sold his business to Mike Shipley, there was a little bit of a learning curve. Mike was making a good knife, but it wasn't the same. And then eventually he quit using this flexible steel. So I was looking for a replacement, and then it was suggested to talk with Rich. So I met Rich out at Converse, Indiana, and got to talking to him. And the first ones we worked on, we weren't quite on the same page, but eventually we got it. Now I'm going to put the cheeks in, and I like to hold my cheeks no lower than the bottom of the nose. If I'm going to err, I want to err a little bit higher. And you can think of a fish hook or a J, a forward J and a backward J. Then when I cut those in, I could do it with my knife, but I usually use a V-tool. I want my cheek higher than the mustache. So with my V-tool, I can do 2 cuts. I can outline, but if I lean it over, I can also remove wood underneath the cheek. So as I come up, now I'm going to want the hair in this area. I'm going to want the hair higher than the face. So I just flip the V-tool the other direction. Same thing on the other side.
That's a soft V you're using on that, isn't it?
No, that's actually, well, not that I'm advertising tools. That's a Stubai V. And Stubais aren't as sharp in the V as like some of the other brands. So it kind of is almost like a soft V, but not quite as drastic as like the Denny's were. You know, the Denny made the Ortel and then the Stetson Stubby there. And they were great tools. I hope one of these tool manufacturers starts making them again. I do know Stubai is coming out with a soft V, or they're out with them. It's just when they're in stock, getting them. So they are available, but that one works pretty good for me. So I use it quite a bit. So right now I'm just going to kind of shape the cheek here. Then up here, right above the cheek line, I like to do a little indentation there for the temporal area. We all have it, you just don't notice it on some people, but on a carving, I think it just adds a little bit to it. And I just do the stop cut around there, and I push that cheek down into the stop cut. Then I just keep going back and forth, playing with it till I get what I like, or what looks good to my eye. I admire you folks that teach on Zoom. It's just doing this demo for you folks is difficult because I keep forgetting I need to keep it up where you can see it and stuff. So I apologize, and don't be afraid to holler out that I'm off out of frame there. All right, now this thing needs a little cleanup, but I don't want to bore you guys with that because it's time, but move on here. So at this point, I'm going to shape this ball a little bit more, the hat in. These things are fun. You can do, you know, the more you get carving these, the more you think of, oh, I could have done this one with it. There was one that I was going to show you, but good for me, bad for you, but I sold it the other day, but it had like a headband on it. I saw a guy in Williamsburg, Virginia dressed up as Santa Claus, but instead of having a hat, he wore a crown of boxwood. So I got to thinking, well, why can't I use that straw technique that I do on my scarecrows and do something similar? So I carved holly across the front, and then I did that technique, made it look like pine, and it made a real nice effect. Those are the ones you only want to do for somebody special because they do take a lot of time.
Just so you guys know, we still got the auction going on in the chat for the signature knife. So just so you know.
Yeah, bid early and bid often. Going for a good cause. That's one thing. Open up his smeller here so he can smell.
And what'd you take and put in to start his nostrils off?
It's just a shallow gouge. It's not very deep. It's technically, it's a Rommelson, and they call it number 9, but it doesn't look like any of the number 9s that I have. So that's why a lot of times I won't quote sizes. Get his mustache in.
Just a little out of frame.
Pardon me? Oh,
A little out of frame. You're back now.
Sorry. You could use a V-tool, your knife, whatever you're comfortable with. I do a lot of my work with the knife.
How often do you end up having to strop or to sharpen your knife?
Well, probably not as often as I should. I carve most of the day without stropping until I'm ready to do eyes. Then I always strop before I do my eyes. Kind of see them taking shape now.
Jim, do you use flesh tones when you paint?
Yeah, I usually use it's Delta Creme Coat. It's called a medium flesh, and then I mix a little bit of burnt sienna in with it, just a little bit, just to darken it up. And then as far as the hats, you know, you can make them any colors you want. Doing ornaments are a good way to practice faces. And if you get a bunch of them, they make great gifts. The waitresses at the diner love them, and you get a little better service next time you come in. So just keep that in mind. And there again, it's just more practice on faces for you. All right, let's talk about beards. How we're fixed good for time here. I usually do, on a larger carving, I'll do a series of 3 U-gouges, but on these smaller ones, I'll usually only do 2. But the big thing you want to do, you don't want straight lines. So I think of lazy S's, C shapes, that type of stuff. So what I mean by that is, like, if you're coming down here, you know, just C shapes. So what I'll do is start with one size. And don't be afraid to cross over and go run into the one you just did. For me, when you're doing hair and beards, you can't get too much movement in it.
Although the easiest movement that you can put in hair is like yours and Stetson's.
Well, that's true. Although I find, for me, carving a ball-headed carving is harder than putting hair on.
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
Dave,
It's
it sounds like
amazing.
we got some audio difficulty.
Yeah, it is a little bit. A little bit.
It's that Minnesota audio.
I've had different clubs invite me to come and do a talk, and they say, well, they kind of liked how I did the beards on my Santas. And I always start off, I said, it's pretty good how they asked the ball-headed guy to come in and talk about hair, you know. So,
You know from past experience.
pardon me?
I said, you know from past experience.
This is true. This is true. I'm not that old that I still can't remember when. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this loose. It just makes it easier to finish up this hair. Now, caution you, when you cut this loose, it's just like cutting, if you're doing a rough out, when you cut those knots off the top, you got to be careful, because you're not paying attention and all of a sudden that thing slips. And okay, so now we can just now I'll move to a smaller gouge. And I'll come right back inside some of those channels I was just at. Any flat spots I want to go over.
A little frame.
A little out of frame. Thank you. I appreciate that. Not really.
Oh, I think it's cute.
Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea on the beard. Now let's talk about mustache. And I'm sure nobody on here has ever made this mistake, but just so in case we happen to have a new carver on here, most new carvers, when they're doing a mustache, runs the hair all from the nose, from the center of the face. But if you look at anybody that has a mustache or a beard, you'll realize that the hair grows straight down. So just be aware of that. Now I'll go to a smaller gouge for this. Once again, a little U gouge, and this one's a little bit bigger size for this particular size of carving. But I just want to break up, get some mass in there a little bit. And I want to break up that edge. I don't want a sharp line going across the mustache there. So now I'll follow up with a smaller gouge, and this happens to just be, it's a number 11, but you could use pretty much anything there. But then I'll come back in now and get some more movement.
Hey, Jim, would you mind real quick just brushing some of those chips that are beneath you away so the focus stays on the carving?
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
No, please do, because I'm not real good at paying attention to what I got going on here. Like I say, I admire you folks that do this all the time. It's much easier for me in a class situation where we're face to face. You can see how the mustache is coming in there now. Angle. I don't know how well it's showing up, but so really this guy, you finish up the beard, finish the hat, we got to put some eyes in. So anybody want to see me do an eye?
I think we would all enjoy it.
Pardon me?
I think we all would enjoy it.
Okay. Once again, this is just one way of doing an eye. Two things with the eye. You got to get curvature from left to right. If you look at your carving from the side and you look at it and you see the whole eye, that means you didn't get enough curvature to the eye. And look at anybody when you're out beside them, look at their profile. You only see half of their eye. So to help me with that, I use a little dockyard, and I go to the inside of the eye and I do a little scooping cut, a little arcing cut, however you want to. I was in a class one time and I told a guy, I said, well, do a C-shaped cut, forward C, backward C. And he said, I don't understand what you're saying. So I said it again. And then I even sketched the lines in, like, I said, you got a C, then you got a backward C. He said, young man, I want to tell you something. He said, I know a V tool, I know a U gouge, but I don't know what a C is. And I started laughing because I realized how I was confusing him. So I had to change my terminology to do a little arcing cut in there. So
Now,
I do that. Pardon me?
You use that rubber thumb guard. Does that give you some extra grip, or is there?
Yeah, well, I tell you, the main reason I use that is because when I anchor with my thumb, and no matter how short I cut my thumbnail, I'm always marking up my carvings. So what that does is eliminate me marking the carvings. But yes, it also does give you a little extra grip.
You have to replace it often?
If I do a good week of carving, I get about a week out of it. Sometimes not so much if I slip with my knife. People thought I would wear it to save my thumb, and I said, no, if my knife's sharp, it'll go right through it. So most of your, used to be just about any office store would have those, but I know in my area, the only thing they stock is the small ones. And so unfortunately, I've been having to buy them online. But they used to, people in the banks used to use them all the time for sorting money and stuff. All right, the rule of thumb is if you're, I'm probably going to screw that up. I want to do his right eye because I'm right-handed. So as you're looking at the carving, it's going to be the left side, but it's actually the carving's right eye. So now that I drew the eye in, I'm just going to do a stop cut all the way around. I'm going to come through the bottom. Now I stop and I come back from the top lid in. And the reason I do that, because if I would happen to slip, I go out through the top lid, and then I got to try to fix that. So now I just shave up. And then the other thing with your eye sets in your head on an axis. So when so when I shave this eye from top to the bottom, that's automatically putting that axis of that eye in there for me. So so the curvature of the eye and the axis of the eye are the only two things I ever bring over from realistic carving or sculpture. So I go back into each corner, just pop a little chip out. And then, I won't guarantee this is sharp, but if you have a sharp V tool, just come put the upper lid in. Once again, your upper lid goes out over your lower lid. Then one last step is to break up the brow line so he doesn't have a unibrow. Now in a small carving like this, I don't carve the eyebrows in, I just paint them. Larger carvings, I do carve them in. But when you go to paint, don't come straight across like that. Kind of just take your brush and push it in. And when the bristles splay out, it actually looks like hair when it's done. And once again, my wife taught me that. Okay, and that's really all there is to this little guy. It definitely is not finished, but that's everything else is just repeating what we've already done. So any questions?
Not hearing if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask to them.
Once again, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity, and hopefully you picked a little something up there, and feel free to contact me if I've totally confused you.
Great job, man. We really appreciate it, Jim. A good. I'm gonna carve some of those guys because that looks like a fun Santa to carve.
Yeah,
So
and if
appreciate it
anybody
very
wants
much.
that pattern, Dave, I can probably scan that and email it to you. I don't know if you guys can put it up somewhere or something, but I don't know if anybody's interested, but I'd be glad to share it.
I think we would be. Go ahead and yeah, if you want to send it to Blake or myself, and we'll make sure we post it up when we post the video, and we'll put it on the Facebook page and stuff with that. So we greatly appreciate it and thank you much. I'll give just a couple other minutes here for the auction. So if you guys want to get a last second bid put in there, go ahead and do that. Want to give our thanks and great appreciation to Jim for coming in and presenting with us today. Blake and I also want to tell you guys Merry Christmas and thank you all for being here with us this year, doing all the times of just coming in and being a part of our Zoom and encouraging us to keep things going and helping us find some presenters at times and making sure that we have people around to give demos for you guys and people that you're interested in. So we want to keep that up. We're so thankful we got to do it through 2025. I know we've got one more, or 2024, excuse me, and start into 2025. We have one more Zoom next week with Ryan Olson. And I'm going to give about 2 more seconds here for the bid, and then I'm going to call it here. So give you just a couple seconds here. Last minute person who wants to slide in. Okay. We're going to go ahead and call the bid here for Jim. Whoop, let me see if that last one got through. Yep, we're going to call this in for Jim. Jim Wadassen, or Waldassen. Forgive me if I pronounced it incorrectly, but if you'll stay with us after we get the meeting done, I'll get the information from you to give to Blake, and he'll get you the PayPal information so we can get paid and get you the knife out, man. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Jim, thanks so much for a great presentation. This has been the International Association of Woodcarvers, and we will see you guys next Saturday. I'm going to take a quick punt back, and I forgot completely about doing an announcement from Blake. Since he's not with us, he gave us a little video message, so I'm going to play that real quick and also talk about what we have going on during the meeting as well. So let me share this off my screen here. All right. Sorry, I should have announced that or put that at the very beginning, but I'll just edit it for YouTube later.